It is definitely that time of year when we look back at the year that was, we reflect. Some might say it was a great year, some might say it was a tough year. And if your name is Elisa Molaba from Johannesburg, you're definitely going to say it was a heck of a challenging year, and that is to say the least. Thank you so much for being on Good Morning Angels. How are you doing?
Well, thanks. How are you doing, Martin?
I'm okay, thank you.
Right.
Looking back at 2022, probably not your favorite year.
Yeah, absolutely.
What a trying, a terrible year actually.
Yes.
Very, very challenging year to say the least. Take us back to the start. What happened?
Well, at the beginning of the year, I would say prior to the beginning of the year, in 2021, I was admitted into a mental health institution due to depression that I have chronically, and coming out of the institution after almost 3 weeks, I was fired from my job for being in an institution. There was an unfair dismissal that happened, and the case started with my employer in February, and in March I lost the job due to being institutionalized, basically. That changed the whole span of how things happened in my home and the movements around. So I have 3 boys, being a single parent, and that was it. I inherited 3 girls from my sister who passed on in July. So in a spit
You
of the
really had
moment.
3 kids of your own.
Yes.
Your sister passed away.
Yes.
And you ended up
Having
also
3 more. So I've got 3 boys, 3 girls. But over the past 3 years, I have been looking after the 2 girls. So I always had 5, and now after my sister passing, there is the 6th one. And CCMA case, it hasn't set since February this year. There's always a postponement, or my previous employer is not available. And I solely, think I do have a solid case where you're fired because you were discriminated because you are in a mental health institution, and you claim not to have reported your whereabouts, even if you have reported that you will be in a mental health institution. So that was a knock, and having 6 children at home with no job, it just changed life in a split second.
And it's a time in your life when you need the most support from everybody who can possibly give you support, including an employer.
Correct.
And instead, it went the other way around.
Yes.
It went south. You lost your job. The one thing you definitely need, having to look after 6 children.
Yeah. Children, my boys are aged 17, 12, and 7. And my nephews are aged 21, 14, and 7.
Is there a partner in your life that helps you?
No. I'm absolutely a single parent, have always been a single parent. What is even making things more challenging is that my middle boy has got extreme mental health conditions. He's diagnosed with ODD, ADHD, and ADD. But the ODD is the one that is making it tough. So he's currently expelled from school. He was in a remedial school even. But it's just the behavior in children with ODD that makes them unparentable. But you can't say a child is unparentable. At the end of the day, the parent that is looking after the child has to take the bite, whether they get in trouble with beating other children at school with the neighbors. You're currently always under the limelight because your child has done something extremely out of what is normal, or what is looked at as normal. So I've been to social development, or at Fox Street, they call it children's social development or something like that, where I'm going through the process of canalization. Canalization is basically where you hand over your child to the state, which is heartbreaking because you simply cannot, or you don't have the resources or the capacity to look after the child with this extreme mental health disorder. Now, it has been such a very tormenting, not just this year, but having to raise a child with ODD. The child is getting treatment from a local hospital, from Rahima Musa, Mother and Child. But if you speak to any psychiatrist, medication can only do that much. It only inhibits the behavior when they're in class, but once they get out of class in the field or anywhere, he always gets in trouble. So I would like my son to be canalized in an institution called Lukov. It's in Heidelberg. But you can't just take your child. It's not like any school. I mean, even with the remedial school, we're in Johannesburg Region B. My son attends at Delta Park. It's just such a process. So let alone canalization, where you're having to hand over your child to be permanently institutionalized while they still have a chance of attending school. So I need a social worker. I have a neighbor who my son have destroyed their property over time, but he was very, very kind to say, I can help you with the canalization process.
Sure.
But if you have to go through government, it's very, very, very difficult because first of all, you are in a home, you have other children, and you always be told that no children who are canalized are children who are on the street. We mostly look at the children who have no support.
Sure.
But at the same time, I'm not coping with having to look after a mentally challenged child whose behavior extreme out of a borderline, where else I have my own mental
It must have been a very tough decision.
It is very difficult. I don't think there is any parent who would like to hand over their children to anyone.
No.
I think even if you are a single parent or even a grandparent, no one wants to come to that point. But yes, some of the parents, or I would rather go through that in order to protect the children that are in my house, to protect the children in the school.
Of course.
Because there are children that are, I mean, recently he's been expelled for smoking vape and, selling vape at school. These are children who always have weapons on them. These are children who always are on the wrong side of the law. I mean, he's only 12, but the police cases, at some point, one day or another, after 12, he can be arrested. So you're saying, do I want my child to be arrested because they've stabbed other children? There's always the stabbing incidences.
That is a lot to deal with.
Would I, as a parent, hand over my child to a canonization process?
What a sobering, what an incredibly tough decision to make. And you're making that decision at the end of the day in his best interest.
In his best interest, because he's roaming the streets, basically.
By the sounds of it, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm scared to ask, what happened to your leg?
I broke my leg in a race. I'm a social runner. To get over the stress and just being mentally healthy, I do a lot of outdoors. I do hike, I go to the gym, but mostly I run almost every day. So there was a race on the 24th of September, the Joburg Run Your City, the popular race sponsored by APSA now. It used to be sponsored by FNB. And just before they finished, I went into a pothole, a very small pothole, and I had a knee backlash. Basically, your knee is bending over to your back side of the leg instead of the forward side of the leg, which is normally your normal bending of the leg. So I tore 3 ligaments, your ACL, your anterior cruciate ligament, your MCL, which is the main one, and the one on the side, the LCL. So 3 ligaments were broken. And basically I have a leg, but it's not connected. Having been fired from work due to being in a mental health institution, I lost all the titles of medical aid. So I'm on a waiting list for an operation at Garden City Hospital. Not Garden City. Garden City is actually a private one. What is it? Helen Joseph, yes. So it's a public hospital. Our public hospitals are best, I don't want to lie, but they are very inundated. So I'm looking at a waiting list of being operated somewhere in May, June, and I need to start working because I've got these 6 children in the house. So I went on Facebook just to ask for a donor for any orthopedic surgeon, if there could be one, to operate the leg, because after the surgery, if the ligaments are properly replaced,
Sure.
because then they need to drill it and into the femur and put in something like a artificial ligament. It can take about 6 months. But with me having to be on crutches, it will take about 3 years. The doctors just said in a public hospital that it will take you about 3 years if we don't do any.
You want the year to end?
Please.
Listen.
I want the year to end. It's been a bad year.
My gosh, I'm never ever going to moan about this year in my life again, Elisa. How do you cope?
Since the running now is taken away from me and the outdoor, which is the hiking, I went back full time on my depression meds. So I'm on 300 milligram of Wellbutrin every day. I think that's just takes away a bit on being on antidepressants.
Sure.
But with a whole lot of parenting and with dealing with 3 girls who just lost a mum, everyone is seeking, I think it's emotional support,
Of course.
Looking at the 3 girls and my boys
Can I
crying.
just tell you, just one of the many things that you mentioned right now is probably a lot for most people to deal with. And you're dealing with all of that. And financially, how do you look after 6 children with no job? Do you have a network around you that supports you?
I'm still on the unemployment insurance fund. Luckily, but it's ending now in December.
But surely it's not enough.
It's not enough, and I made some loans, and I've cleaned all the pension fund. I would say, because I lost my car in July. I was hit.
Of course you did. That is just
everything that I lost. I had to replace. So I'm depending on loans from friends, and basically it's a day after a day. If
you
today
take it day by day.
Yeah.
I was just about to say, you know what? Enough of talking about what's behind us in 2022. And what's left of it is the festive season, which is that part of here that normally should bring joy to families. And you've got a big family around you. And I want you to just experience relief, festive joy for a moment at the end of 2022. It didn't start great. It went from bad to worse, but at least can we just help you feel joy and relief and festive cheer? That is what I want for you in your life right now. And obviously going into 2023, I hope you get a job again. I hope that CCMA case wraps up. I hope all your kids feel joy around you and give you joy and give you support as well. The thing with your son, it's a lot to deal with.
Yeah.
And to help us try and get you to feel a bit of festive cheer and Christmas spirit, I want to introduce you to our good friends, our fabulous festive sponsors, Roman's Pizza, and representing Swalaya Mohammed this morning. Good morning, Swalaya. I mean, I'm never going to ever in my life complain about anything again towards the end of a tough year.
Martin, I've got a lump in my throat. I don't think I can, do this without dropping a few tears. But I've complained profusely about my life and the year that I've had, and I just cannot even imagine what you've gone through, Elisa. Mental disease, I know for a fact, is very trying on its own. To have a mentally challenged child is also trying. Yeah. But then to break your leg, to meet up with an accident, to lose your sister, you've just had a challenging year. And we at Roman's Pizza would like to relieve some of that pressure for you, at least for this festive season, by giving you 35,000 rands.
Wow.
Just to ease that pressure off you a little bit. And I would personally like to give you a wheelchair, because I can see how difficult it's been for you to mobilize. I know how difficult it is without that mobility. So yeah, that's what we'd like to give you, just to ease that pressure from you a little bit.
Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you, Salaya. I didn't expect the money coming to Jacaranda 94.2. I didn't expect, I just expected to be here to tell my story.
Well, I'm glad
Thank
that we at Roman's Pizza would be able to give you that
Wow.
little bit of joy.
Thank you. Thanks, Roman's Pizza. Thank you, Solaya. Martin, thank you.
Very big pleasure.
You're most welcome. Thank you, Roman's Pizza Swallow. Thank you very, very
Thank
much.
you.
I appreciate it. And also to our first angel, Neo, for writing to us and telling us your story and sharing with us. I always call them the first angel, that person who gives enough, who cares enough to want to write to us about someone else. So I'm so happy that you have someone like that around you in your life. I really do. Bless you, Neo. And thanks for sharing your story. I really do appreciate it. And jeez, I am going to be... The only wish I'm going to have this Christmas is that 2023 is going to be your year. I really do. I really, really hope it's going to be your year. And it's going to be a better year for you. 6 children. It's expensive. Gotta offer you some more support. Could I add another 35,000? Courtesy of our Good Morning Angels Fund. Will it help you?
Oh, thank you, Martin. I think that will help so much into my children's school fees.
Roman's Pizza would like to throw in some clothes for Christmas for your kids.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate. May the guardians be with you. Just like the name of your show. The extra 35,000 will go into the deposits of all the children's school fees. I really appreciate. I didn't expect.
It's a good
this
investment.
much.
The future, the children. Merry Christmas and a happy new year. I really, really do
Thank
hope
you.
that it's going to be a great year. Thanks for sharing your story.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Roman's Pizza.
Thank you.
Good job,
Thank you.
Angels. Good job.
Thanks.
Good morning, Angels. Breakfast with Martin Bester, 6 to 9 weekdays, exclusive to Jacaranda FM.